Thank you for your attention, everybody, and thank you for the invitation to come here. I only have 50 slides, and it will take like 30 minutes. No, just kidding. I will be faster. Yeah. My name is Boy Jensen. I am. This is a picture made by the students. I'm an MD from the University of Copenhagen in Denmark. I was postdoc in Germany, and I'm a full professor now at the University of Southern Denmark in Odense in Denmark. What is my qualifications to evaluate Estonian research, which is a huge task and a huge amount of confidence to be given? Well, I have been also an evaluation panel member evaluating Norwegian clinical research 2012. And I regularly evaluate applications for the Danish Heart Association and more recently for the Swedish Research Council. Personally, I do research within kidney function, high blood pressure, and kidney transplantation. So that's my background. What were our tasks? Well, to assess the level of research and development in medical health sciences at different research and development institutions according to internationally recognized criteria. This is our hardworking panel, two now retired professors, so our average age was about 65, but that's apparently a priority here when evaluating Estonian research. No women and only gray hair, but still that was the conditions. That said, we had a very, very good chemistry in the group, and these two gentlemen, Ron Mon and Ole Bjerrum, worked hard and efficiently. Those were the institutions that we have to evaluate, and this one disappeared, as we heard, so we were down to 5. Which did we visit? Well, we went and visited these 5 institutions, and all of them, nearly all of them, had very, very pretty new buildings. Some had pretty managers, and some had both pretty managers and pretty buildings. But we will look further into that. First, I have chosen not to give you specifics for the single institutions. That's a bit confidential, I think, in my view. So I have chosen only 8 slides to extract the major points that could be of general interest, perhaps, to many of you. Infrastructure, what we saw everywhere, I could say, was impressive. It was nearly second to none. It was much better than what we have in our country and my institution, and my fellow members had the same to say. Also, according to Ron, better than UK standards, and you should be proud of what you have achieved in the last 10 years regarding infrastructure. Ample space was what we observed, and biomedical sciences depend still on animal experiments, and the housing facilities that we saw were really second to none, at a level so that I went home and told my director, you should go and see what they built in Estonia. It's the best I could imagine. There were biobanks established at several places, I'll come back to that, which were impressive, and what you can't learn from any evaluations, but what you can sense by being there, as what we heard previously, was that at several places what we experienced was a very open atmosphere, sharing of research infrastructure, sharing of machinery, and a non-hierarchical organization above all, which is important in research, that you have a flat structure. Some places we found that groups perhaps were not in the optimal environment for their research. We already heard something about that. Take the mouse out. Now, some of the things that we noted was that at some of the institutions that really has a role to play in addressing societal needs, we did not see any clear strategies formulated into what they were going to do, and that could be improved, we think. Explicit strategies to integrate also the groups that exist at different institutions. I come from a small country also with 5 or nearly 6 million inhabitants, and you need to integrate and not run parallel groups, institutions doing the same. A lot of synergy can be achieved by looking at that. What we also saw, we visited one startup enterprise that had a really impressive ability to share facilities, both research-wise, but also teaching-wise, and also their employees with university. Not so much silo thinking. No, let's share what we can do and grow both at both places. Networking, On the other hand, international networking was often very impressive. Many groups were members of EU partnerships and had excellent bilateral collaborations with leading institutions in UK, in Sweden, and also, of course, in the US and Japan. What we found, and that's noticeable and important, I think, in a small country, I have a few more slides with that. There was a short distance from the basic biomedical research to applied, both at the technical university, but also in the hospital. In the Tartu medical faculty, there was even, as we shall see, a translational institute, which is unique, I think, in Europe and quite impressive. What did we find as really, well, you could say something we haven't seen at other places? What was unique to what we saw? Yeah, the Translational Institute taking observations, or at least providing a forum where basic discoveries can rapidly be taken to bedside, and the other way around, good questions from patients, from doctors, can be taken back to the laboratories to be addressed there. This was actually institutionalized in a translational institute. Great thing. We saw the Genome Center also impressive, both from the technological side, but also from the manpower and the spirit that we discovered. We saw only one startup enterprise, but still the spirit and the degree of collaboration that we discovered was impressive. And if that is typical for the country, then it's thumbs up. We found a strong environmental medicine ecotoxicology group, which is an important and new issue, not really investigated at many places at this level. We also heard about at the technical university collaborations with hospitals about automated language recognition, because transferring paper in hospitals into computers is challenging in all countries, and especially in countries with specific and strange languages like my own. It's difficult to have doctors coming from other countries, and it's difficult to go from paper to computers. And it appears as though you have a societal need, an unmet need, that is really addressed. Great. 2 slides about PhD education, and then I'm through. This is important, obviously, because the PhD studies, the PhD students, they are the engines, they are the motors driving science discovery. They are the ones pushing things forward in the labs. We met not only a few, but actually at 3 institutions we met, and thank you to the institutions for that, we met whole panels of PhD students, so I don't think we were biased in that sense that we only got the positive ones. I'm certain we were not, because we heard also negative things, but most positive things. But I can tell the institutions that these students were enthusiastic, devoted, and very loyal to supervisors and to institutions. They had some structural remarks. What we noticed were, and that's really a fine thing, that most of them stated to us they were recruited after open calls, which is good. They worked independently with influence on their projects. Also a very fine mark that they are in a non-hierarchical organization. I mean, you shouldn't do what your boss tells you to do if you get a better idea. There should be space and room for pursuing that idea. And that is the impression we got, that is the atmosphere that is present. As I said, both infrastructure and what we observed was that access to state-of-the-art instrumentation was really good. It was better than at home with me, I think. So it's really, it's impressive what you have achieved with infrastructure. We did not find many PhD students from other countries, and that could be improved. Here are some few negative remarks. Well, we also, I mean, we had students being there for the 8th year and having other jobs, which is unthinkable in my country. It's full-time, of course. You can't do independent lab research having another job. We understand the reason for why some students have to have another job, but that's something you have to work with here. Also, some of them would like to have better granting for exchange of ideas to go to other institutions, and that's what they mentioned. And salary is a problem. And then this fixed number of publications is really also not productive in our mind. However, I think, of course, you should have demands on productivity. Science lives from sharing discovery with others. But having a fixed number of publications, I mean, you would rather have one paper in Nature than you would have 15 in some open access, non-known journal, I assume. So there should be expectations, but you should soften those demands. That was what we found. And then you should really perhaps also, because you hamper people's career if they do not graduate before 8 years has passed. And then there's this strange thing with the MDs not getting PhD degrees. In my country, in order to get a permanent position as an MD, as a university hospital, you have to be a PhD. You have to make incentives. You have to force, at least in university hospitals, doctors to be active in research. They are the ones to implement change. They are the ones to take new ideas into patient care. You have to have a research culture in hospitals. Huh? I have already commented on this, that we found excellent communication between different sectors. What we would like to explore further and that we think you should exploit further is the usage of split positions, that MDs go into basic research some of their time, and at the other time they spend with patients. Something could be achieved by doing that. I learned from some of the other slides that there is a pharma industry in Estonia. We were not told a lot about that, and so I might have understood that, but drug development and clinical testing of new drugs is really essential also in the medical sciences, so you should strive to try and get startups implementing testing usage of new drug candidates. There's a lot of patenting and entrepreneurship, perhaps in other branches. We did not hear much about it in health sciences. Perhaps it's not integrated into the curricula, I don't know, but that's something we noticed. Publication activity, diverse across and also within institutions. We had in no institutions any problems with activity, but especially what we noticed was that some of the institutions had strong younger researchers coming back, implementing what they learned into the institutions. And perhaps you should seek a strategy where you lift the average level by both the stick and the carrot, as we say in Denmark. So that has paid off in my university hospital. That is to lift the average level by support yeah. Thanks for hospitality. It's been nice all along today and in May, and for these two kind persons, Preet, who's not here today, that really took care of everything, and Doris also. So thank you, and I don't know, 10 minutes perhaps, a little more.